Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to the channel, and I am here for a discussion video for you guys. Now, this is actually something that I've been wanting to talk about for a little bit now, so I'm going to be talking about compilation albums and something that I'm going to be, I guess, going more in depth with, because I think some people kind of see compilation albums as pointless. Some people think that, there's nothing wrong with them, but I want to give my take on them. And the main topic of this video is, are compilation albums pointless, So I feel like that's all stuff that we can get into for this video. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about a few things. Now, first off, I'd like to say that I'm not completely against compilation albums. As you know, I do have some compilation albums and greatest hits albums in my collection myself, from bands like Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin, of course. But it's not like something that you want to do all the time because, well, the funny thing is, and you guys actually might laugh at this, there was a time where I thought that, all bands of, classic rock and classic metal had one album per band. Yeah, I know that's a little silly, but that's because of my experience in, people only sticking with um, greatest hits albums. Because I know that there's some people out there that, could care less about studio albums and they only stick with the greatest hits. And that's why I kind of thought that, there was only one CD per band, of the past. Obviously, this was when I had a close mind to the older styles of rock and heavy metal, but obviously I've opened my mind up to that a little bit. Now, like I said, I'm not completely like anti-compilation or greatest hits albums, but you know, that's something that kind of gets me with people, are the people that, only collect the greatest hits of some bands. Believe it or not, there's people out there that are like this. They could care less about studio albums. Like they only care about their hits, and yet they claim to be a fan of the band. I just don't get it, man, because, well, that would mean that you're missing out on a lot of great stuff, like a lot of, bands' great deep cut songs and songs that are underrated as well, that you're not giving, the attention to because you're only focused on the hits, on the popular songs, you know what I'm saying? Um, you know, and that's just not a way to live either, especially if you call yourself a music fan. You don't just want to stick with the band's hits, you know what I'm saying? So I can understand why, it could be pointless for that crowd as well, because it kind of uh not really I guess it more so is in favor to those who, only pick up greatest hits CDs and not actual studio albums. I mean, I personally would be fine if they stopped making compilation albums completely. Now, they have done that with, more modern bands. Like, you won't get, like, greatest hits albums from a lot of modern bands like you do, classic bands. That's because, well, some people just only care about the hits, which is a little silly if you ask me. So, I don't know. I would encourage anyone who falls into this crowd that only cares about compilation albums, give some attention to the studio albums too by that band, because you never know what you're missing out on. You might find some deep cuts and, some songs that are non-singles that, you might like and might find underrated. So, yeah. Now, like I said, I'm not completely anti greatest hits. So, like I said, I do have quite a few in my collection, but I think greatest hits CDs and compilation albums are good if you are just now getting into a band, so you can get an idea of their discography. You can listen to certain songs from their discography, you can get an idea. You know what I'm saying? Listen to all the singles from like the majority of their albums or something. I think that would be good. But I personally don't believe that that's where you should stop. I don't believe that you should just stop at greatest hits. You know what I'm saying? So you actually got to dive into the studio catalog, I think, for sure. Some people might not believe me, but there are people out there that, are this way. They only stick with the hits. That's kind of my take on it, though. Like, I don't know. I see nothing wrong with owning greatest hits CDs and compilation albums, like I said, because I do own some myself, but the thing is, that shouldn't be all. And do I think greatest hits albums and compilations are pointless? I would say yes and no. Like I said, I think they're good if you're just now getting into a band and want an idea of like their hits and stuff. Sure, I think that's good, but um, if you're like already owning all the studio albums, I mean, I guess it's okay, but like I could see how that can be pointless as well. And same with, only sticking with the compilation albums. Like you're only interested in, buying compilation albums. And obviously, the people that are like this are, they're not buying their CDs from like eBay or the Exchange Store or FYE or something. They're mostly, they're getting their CDs at Walmart. I mean, whatever they have at Walmart, that must be it. That's the entire CD selection of the world is at Walmart, which is just absolutely ridiculous and mind-blowing. But yeah. So my answer would be yes and no as far as, do I think greatest hits albums and compilation albums are pointless? I think that there are pros to them, but there's also things about them that I can definitely see them being pointless. One example I can think of when it comes to a pointless compilation album is that most recent greatest hits CD from Megadeth, I think. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called like War on Foreheads or something. Whatever it was called, I don't remember. I found that really pointless because I remember when they were like first teasing that out, we had a lot of speculation about that like being the new studio album. But lo and behold, it was just a compilation album. And yeah, I was very disappointed by that. I was like, really? We've like already heard these songs, And that's kind of another thing that kind of gets me about, some compilation albums and how they can fall into the pointless category. And it's that how some bands just kind of live on their hits. Like they live on past success. They could care less about releasing new material. And they're only focused on, the songs that made them big in the first place, I hate when bands do this. Bands that come to mind immediately are Metallica. Now, I like Metallica, but I would agree that, they do to an extent live on past success. Like they're a band that's been around since the 80s, but only have 10 albums, And I think that this band could, very easily release more music. Way more often than they do, I think. It'd be nice if we got a new Metallica album soon, actually. But yeah, so that's how I can see compilation albums being a little pointless in that regard. But yeah, that's kind of my video, guys. Like I said, it's just a hit or miss situation, I think. Like there's, obviously things that aren't too bad about greatest hits. And, if a band, like, only has, like, one greatest hits CD in their entire, music catalog, then that's fine. But if they, like, have, like, 20 greatest hits CDs, that just shows that, some bands are really living on past success, I think. And you can make the same argument for live albums, too, but I guess that can kind of fall into this category as well. I do have a few live albums in my collection, of course. I see nothing wrong with live albums, but I don't understand the praise for them, honestly. But that's my video, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you guys agree that what all I said in this video? Do you also think compilation albums are pointless, or are you someone that's like me and you see good things about them and pointless things about them? So let me know your thoughts. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.